All right, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Kings. This is our seventh episode. Mike did a Devi episode last week. Mike, how are we doing today?
We're doing okay. We're doing okay.
Not great.
No, it's not great. It's not great.
Well, why is it not great?
There's just some leagues I should be winning and I'm not. So it just means I'm not doing my job out here.
Yeah, well, not necessarily, man. I've seen some really good 0-3 teams with just guys who are underperforming, and you can't predict guys like Allen Robinson and whoever else, But let's go ahead and get started. Who do we have first up to discuss tonight?
We got our boy Mike Williams. Is he the real deal?
Mike Williams. Man, what a crazy start to the season. So he is number 2 in fantasy points for wide receivers currently in half PPR. And the Chargers got a new offensive coordinator, and Mike Williams was getting hyped in the offseason saying, hey, this guy is going to be stepping into the Michael Thomas role that he had with the Saints. And I think a lot of people bought it to some degree, but here we are, and he is dominating. Do you think that's going to continue?
Yeah, I do. We talked about this last week with his ADOT and how the new OC is using him. And I don't really see this changing at all, like barring an injury.
Yeah, I remember looking at the average depth of target last week. I think it was almost 10 yards less per
Right, so
target.
it was like 9.4 this year, and last year it was something ridiculous, like 17 point something.
Right. That's
Right.
much different. But here's the thing. It's clear that he is a favorite target in that new offense because Keenan Allen, he's producing, but not to what he was. What has he done this year? Keenan Allen's he's a 15th receiver, which isn't bad, but I think it's clear Mike Williams is the guy there right now.
Yeah, they're absolutely force feeding Keenan Allen last year. If you watched last year's Hard Knocks, I think one of the things that Justin Herbert did was went up to Keenan Allen himself and just kind of like, I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much tell him, hey, you're the guy, and I'm going to look for you every single time. And that's what he did year one. That's what he did year one, and it worked out. And now that he's got more experience, he's reading the zone a little more.
Which is weird because we've now got a year 6 breakout. Is he year 5 or 6? He was with Corey Davis' class.
Four?
He's not
5.
4. It's either 5 or 6. Okay. And he's 5th because the Titans didn't pick up.
They didn't pick up his extra year either. He's a free agent after this year.
Did they franchise tag him?
I'll look it up while you keep going.
Well, okay. I was going to note what's interesting here is, so Keenan Allen is not leading in fantasy points as between those two receivers. It's Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen is actually playing more snaps. I just looked it up. Every week, Keenan Allen has played more snaps. So the first week it was 6 more. This second week it was 11 more snaps, and then this past week was 7. So it seems like Keenan Allen's still probably going to be worked in, and maybe he ends up closing the gap between that role. But Mike Williams looks good. I don't know. Here, what do you think about that, honestly? Do you think – so we just looked up Keenan Allen seeing more snaps. Do you think he's going to close that gap?
I just think it's going to be more of the same. So I don't know. Obviously, the touchdowns aren't coming Keenan Allen's way. I don't think he's a touchdown machine. And I think Mike Williams is the end zone. Is the end zone, the red zone
look. Target for sure, yeah.
Right. So I think we're just going to see more of the same.
So you expect that to continue. Are you trying to buy or sell? You think anybody's going to be able to – you think you're going to get them at a reasonable price?
No, I don't. I really don't. Yeah. If people are going to ask for more, I'm not going to be able to get him. I think if you have him, you're holding, unless you're like not a contender. Maybe you want to sell because it's his last year with the Chargers. Well, they didn't extend him. Doesn't mean they can't work out a new deal off season. So if you're going to sell him, you're selling him because you believe he's going to go to another team. So
you're talking Dynasty.
Right, correct. But redraft-wise, you're starting him, you're holding on to him. I don't think he's going to drop from wide receiver 2 numbers. He'll just be a stud every week.
So someone offers you A.J. Brown for Mike Williams. Are you doing it?
And redraft, no.
No, that's crazy. Think about if somebody posed that question to you last year, how quickly and how quickly it would be to judge that person for making such an asinine offer. Yeah. That is wild, and that shows how quick things can change. We got a new offensive coordinator; he's clearly unlocked. Mike Williams, I think he's good to go. He's a real deal, guys. If you can attain him, do it. I do expect a drop. He's not going to maintain top 3. I don't think that's going to happen. I think top 10 is reasonable.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we got to say on Mike. Go ahead.
And here's the thing about Mike Williams too, is that he's flashed in the past, like the last 5 years. He's been in the league for 5 years. Looked it up. He's flashed enough that you would feel good about having him on your roster. He just hasn't put it together. And this looks like it's the 5th year breakout campaign. There's always one every year, and it looks like this Mike Williams. He's going to be the 5th year breakout.
Right. Cool. All right. What do we got next?
All right. Look, we got fantasy duds, Robert Woods and Allen Robinson. What do we do with these guys here?
That's tough. I obviously, so I'm a big buy low, sell high guy. You're never going to hear me say sell this stud for low because we have 2 guys with track records of producing, and we're talking about 3-game sample size. So it's not great that they haven't produced. I start getting worried after 4. Really, that's where I put my threshold. 4 games. So you have 4 games to get it together. If you don't, I'm starting to panic. But if you get it together by that 4th game, I'm okay because 3 games is not a huge sample size. 4 is like, okay, man, you've had 4 chances now. I can understand 3, and I don't know why that's my number, but I think that's reasonable. That's 25% of the season, you know. Well,
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I think after 4 games, you understand a team's identity. You can no longer use the excuses like, oh, it's just game script. Oh, it's whatever week-to-week excuse you can give. Right. Once it hits that 4-week mark, and they're just not producing, and that's it.
Right. So I'm right there with you. So I do want to see Robert, but here's the thing. Okay, so Robert Woods is playing in an extremely explosive offense.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't pop. Like, he's going to pop. If he's going to be what he was last year, probably not, but it's certainly still possible. Like, that's not a guy I'm fading. Okay, if you have him, hang on to him. If you can buy low, I think he's a good buy low because that's not an offense that's like the Bears where we thought Allen Robinson was quarterback coach proof, but I think we're starting to see that those are affecting him now, unfortunately.
Right.
So that's where I stand with that. Buy Robert Woods. Allen Robinson, I don't know that I want to buy him. And it's not a talent thing. We've got Matt Nagy trying to. Sorry, I don't know where I cut out, but Matt Nagy trying to. He's telling the media he doesn't know who's starting between Nick Foles, Justin Fields, and Andy Dalton, and that's a huge red flag to me because if you don't know who your quarterback is, if those guys all 3 look that bad, and we saw what Justin Fields did, it was not impressive. I think we have a title for him later, so we'll save it for later when we discuss Justin. But yeah, I want Robert Woods. I don't think I'm buying Allen Robinson unless it's super, super cheap. I mean, you could throw a third rounder at Allen Robinson. If somebody's dumb enough to do that, definitely do it. But I don't think you're going to get him for a third.
Would you, in redraft, trade these 2 guys for Mike Williams?
No, I would wait until they both popped off, and I would try and sell.
I would trade them.
I don't think I'm selling Robert Woods. Period. But Allen Robinson, I'm definitely selling after he has the next big game.
Yeah, so I'm also worried. We talked about it a few weeks ago about how rookie quarterbacks don't bode well for their top receivers. Just historically, they don't throw enough for it to matter. And then the dual threat quarterbacks lower the value even more. And this is exactly what's happened to Allen Robinson here. He did have a hard matchup week 1. I think it was Jalen Ramsey. The Denzel Ward was on this past week. I can't remember who the week 2 corner was on him. But I think there's a tough matchup, but I also think it's a lack of production because of quarterback play too. So I'm a little worried about him long term. People would call this a fade. I faded in preseason. I ranked him, I think, my wide receiver 23 on the year. And now I feel pretty good about that. Probably might drop a little lower. And Robert Woods, you're right. His time is coming. He's going to have a great game one time, and then I would try to sell. It looks like it's Cooper Kupp's show over there.
Yeah. Interesting note, though. Cooper Kupp has only played 6 more snaps than Robert Woods. So Robert Woods is still getting the snap percentages. He actually out-snapped Cooper this past game. So that's noteworthy for sure. I'll pull up the Bears real quick. I think it's worthwhile to speak on. Actually,
Okay.
I don't. I don't because I know he's getting a ton of snaps. He's just not producing. So.
Right. Let's move on to the next player, which is Justin Fields.
Oh, perfect. So, ironically, we are just talking about Justin Fields. He looked atrocious, and I don't want to condemn Justin Fields as a rookie quarterback playing in an absolutely terrible scheme. Matt Nagy is getting a ton of just bad media, and he should. That scheme was terrible. There were plays that just made no sense. And with that said, you've got a guy. I don't want to compare him to Gaze. A lot of people are doing that. Adam Gaze is the. I had a tweet on this. He's the creme de la creme of garbage. You're not going to get a garbage head coach as bad as Adam Gaze. But Matt Nagy, he's at least flashed. He's shown some talent or ability to coach, and he's also have players that actually like him. Adam Gaze, you're going to have a difficult time finding that. But I put this more on Matt Nagy than I do Justin Fields. There's just not enough talent, or maybe not talent is the correct word. There's not enough scheming and coaching ability around him to support any of that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And he was going up against Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. Like, that's a tough front seven to go up against. I mean, that was a tough matchup. If he had, I'm giving him a little bit of a scapegoat here, but if he had like an easier matchup, somebody with a really weak front seven, I would expect more. But like, I'm good to give him the pass unless he's a rookie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this isn't. I'm done with Justin Fields, but it's definitely a huge concern, man. I started him in Scott Fishbowl. Do you know how many points he had in Scott Fishbowl?
Like 3.
-16. -16 points, bro.
I was the 19th highest scorer in my 50-man division this week for 200.
Nice.
So I'm doing all right.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Yeah. Hey, let's just roll right into the other rookie QB while we're at it. Let's just talk about the other ones.
Sure.
Yeah. I was Mac Jones here, Patriots fan here. They looked terrible. They looked atrocious. Jonnu Smith looked good. I'm out on the Patriot tight ends. I was watching him get beat on the corner for blocking. I know he's a tight end. He's not like the tackle, but he looked terrible on that. And then I'm not like throwing in the towel on Jones, of course. I wanted to be a conservative quarterback all year. I wanted to have that safe floor. As far as like fantasy goes for the whole year, if you told me like what's a blowout game for Matt Jones, it's probably like 250 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see him doing that this whole entire season.
Yeah. I was talking about, or I wasn't talking. I saw a commentator, somebody who was in the know or a knowledgeable football mind, was talking about how they're not allowing Mac Jones to throw the ball down the field. Do you think that's because a lack of skill, a lack of trust? What do you think that is? Because average depth of target is atrocious, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I remember looking it up last week, and I know it didn't increase based on just tight end targets this week.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in the 6s. I actually didn't hear about that. I assume it's for a confidence standpoint. They just want to be real conservative. That's just the way the Patriots have been, which is fine by me. I don't really think Nelson. I like Nelson Aguilar as a talent. I don't think he's a top talent though, so I couldn't comment on that. Besides that,
I guess my thing is when you have a deep threat, that opens up so much of the rest of your game, right? And if a defense knows that you're not going to try and throw the ball over the top, they're going to give that to you all day, and they're just going to press. And so when your average depth of target's 3 yards and you're throwing one deep ball a game, that's not scary, and defenses can plan for that. So Mac Jones is going to have to start throwing the ball downfield. I don't know if that's scheme, if that's coaching or what, but that's got to change. And I'm as big of a Mac Jones fan as anybody, but he looked bad this week, and his receivers didn't help him out. I know Jonnu Smith dropped a ball that turned into an interception. Jonnu had 6 targets, 1 catch, which is just atrocious. So, and I think they'll bounce back in a good way, but I don't think it's going to be an elite team. Like Mac Jones, I don't think you go from looking like that and that offense being that stagnant to just being an explosive offense. Like, I guess we expected a massive turnaround after the Cam Newton phase, but I'm not seeing it. He's not. There's nothing that's like scary for a defense.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're trying to win their games through their defense, and then have him put up like 21 points a game, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about Trevor Lawrence then. I watched the game. I don't know. This is the first time since off season, like since like December, that I felt like Urban Meyer looked a little okay. Like he started getting the running game involved. He started calling plays where Trevor Lawrence looked capable. They didn't come out with the win, but like it made me feel a little better about Trevor Lawrence. I'm not worried about him at all. It's gonna be a bad year, but he's still showing some flashes out there.
Yeah, for rookies to step in and just dominate, that's an anomaly. It just doesn't happen very often. It does happen, just not often. I guess the touted generational quarterback, you would expect that, but I think you and I were both in on the fact that we didn't think he was generational. We do think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think anybody would doubt that, but he doesn't look generational. When I think of generational, I think of a guy who's absolutely just changing the game electrically. A Deshaun Watson, a Russell Wilson, a guy, it doesn't matter what you do, you just can't stop him. And Trevor Lawrence is good. He's shown flashes, but he's making a lot of turnovers. And I think a lot of that's on Urban, though. But again, and I would agree that he did look better this week. Urban from a scheming. Finally, James Robinson's involved. I know you love that.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
Trey Lance.
So Trey Lance not starting.
No, still splitting carries. You think so?
Not, dude. Yes. Oh my gosh. What is Shanahan doing? That is a guy that I've respected his coaching since for about as long as he's been in the league, right?
I think he holds grudges for too long. I really do. He puts players in the doghouse for maybe a few mistakes. I'm not really sure what the doghouse. The reason why they get in the doghouse, when they get in the doghouse, though,
I don't know.
They're stuck there.
Here's the way I see it, dude. Okay, so obviously I was very fed up with the Trey Sermon thing. You know that. Twitter knows that. It's a guy that you moved up to get. And I still think there's certain aspects to where you don't need to panic on him, but we're going to talk about him later, so I'll save all that. Oh, are we already there? Is that next?
No, we still got to talk about Zach Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get there in a second then.
Okay.
But basically, you've got Ayuk, you've got Trey Lance, you've got their guard, I think his name's Aaron Banks, and Trey Sermon. Okay. Your first three draft picks aren't playing. Why are your first three draft picks not playing? It takes time for rookies to develop. I don't know anything about Aaron Banks. I know nothing about Aaron Banks. Well, I got to digging because that's what I do. I want to either affirm or negate my thoughts, right? I want to say, yes, Jake, you're right on that idea, or no, you're not, right? But I looked into Trey Sermon like, okay, well, Trey Lance isn't playing. Who else did they draft? Their second-round pick is a guard. He's not playing either. And it's like, all right, man, have you forgotten that you have these rookies? Do you really feel like they're not capable, or are you that bad at drafting? Because it's one of the three, right?
Right.
Like something's got to be given there. Like I don't know. It's not common for a first and second rounder to not play. And I think it's odd that you moved up to get a third and then you're starting a sixth, an undrafted free agent over him. But we'll see what happens. We can move on to Zach. I'll touch on Trey in a second.
Okay. Well, just for Trey Lance, I don't think they're going to get rid of Jimmy G until he loses. So as long as he keeps cranking out those dubs and looking like mediocre, I think they're going to be all right with him.
They just lost.
Yeah, but was it a bad loss though?
I mean, what was the score? It was pretty low score.
I got to look it up. Yeah. So all right. So Zach Wilson though. Zach Wilson here. He threw 4 picks against the Patriots last week. This week he looks pretty bad too. I think it was a shutout. It was 23-0. Denver, something like that. It's a good defense. Are you panicking on Zach Wilson right now?
I'm having some technical difficulties over here. What'd you say?
Are you panicking on Zach Wilson right now?
No, I'm not. It's the Jets, first off. The Jets have a way of just not getting the best out of players. I do like Robert Saleh, though, or Saleh, however you say his last name. And I think he's going to turn that organization around, but it's going to take time. We're talking about a team who's atrocious, That's not a good team there. They do have some talent. I think Elijah Moore is going to develop. I think Corey Davis is going to be just fine. Yeah, they got the brakes beat off of him this week. It was bad. So I hope they get it together. I think he's going to be okay. I'm not panicking on him yet. What about you?
Okay. I think so. I haven't seen any flashes to make me feel confident. There's none of that. It's been 2 straight weeks of actual garbage. I can't even remember week 1, but I don't remember coming off from. Oh, week 1 he was with Corey
Yeah.
Davis.
He had a
Okay, I
decent
don't
game.
know. Do we want to do like a 1 through 5 on a panic meter for each of these guys?
I mean, we can throw a number at him.
Okay,
Maybe
all
1
right.
through 10. Give us a little more.
Okay, 1 through
work.
10. Give me Zach Wilson. 1 through 10.
What, 10 being panic and 0
Yeah,
being no panic?
correct.
Say
Correct.
a 4. A 4.
Okay, I think I'm more at like a 6. I'm a little past that halfway.
Okay.
All right, Trey Lance.
I'm not knocking a guy until I see him. This goes back to opportunity. I'm not going to punish a guy for not getting opportunities. I think in a lot of situations, I think skill is typically the that's typically the decision maker that says, okay, hey, this guy is on the field. I don't think that's the case with rookies. I just gave you 3 examples of guys being drafted and not getting opportunities. Like I know that Shanahan. I keep getting into Trey Sermon because I have a lot to say on him, so I'll stop. But,
Okay. Okay.
I'm not panicking on him. I want to see him play first, so we'll wait for that.
Okay. So like a low like 2, 3.
Yeah, we'll say 3.
I'm probably at a 4. I thought he was a bust preseason, so I'm probably already there. Mac Jones.
I'd say again a 4.
I'm at a 1. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, so I guess with him, my concern is that his coach is going to ruin him. So I'd say a 5.
Okay. I'm thinking the same thing. The coach might ruin it, but I'm more like a 3. That's it.
Yeah.
Who are we leaving out?
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 6, bro. That was a really bad game.
I'm with you. I think I'm with you. I am very high on it. And then we didn't talk about him, but Davis Mills. Davis Mills got in.
Oh
Davis
yeah.
Mills
We
out the
definitely
gate,
discussed
looking like one of
Davis.
the better quarterbacks.
He didn't look bad, man. And I guess here's the thing: when we have these expectations low for a guy, and he steps in, he does okay. You're like, all right, man, this guy might be pretty damn good. And then vice versa, when you have these guys that you're expecting to just be studs, they don't perform, then maybe you're being a little harsh. So I don't want to go too easy on him because he didn't look great. I mean, he freaking threw the ball at Cooks, but also I believe he only had 5 passing attempts in the first half. Nope. I'm sorry, that's not correct. It was 5 almost all the way into the half. And then on his last drive before the half, 2-minute drill, he had a few more. But they didn't give the guy a lot of opportunities to throw, so sample size isn't there. I want to see more. But when they did give him the opportunity to throw, he looked pretty good. So, I mean, I'd say a 3,
All I'm going to say is the Texans are surprisingly looking like a more put-together organization than some of the teams out there right now so far.
Isn't that crazy?
It's wild. It's wild. All right, let's get back on track here. Let's talk about Rondale Moore.
Rondale Moore finally came back down to earth this week.
Yes, he did.
I am going to pull up the snap share for them because this has been interesting for him. He's been really good on not a ton of touches or opportunities. So Rondale Moore has only played 71 snaps. There's 3 receivers who have outperformed, or not outperformed, but outsnapped him. So DeAndre Hopkins at 181, AJ Green at 159, and Christian Kirk at 115. So the low man on the totem pole there is Rondale Moore at 71. The highest snap share he's gotten was 46%, which is not bad for a rookie.
Right.
And he's making the most of his opportunities up until this week. And you kind of expect that if you're tracking like snap share. That stuff's really important because it tracks opportunity, really. So opportunity comes on targets, but I gotta sneeze.
I'll keep talking, dude. All right, so his first 3 games, just for everyone listening, is
Excuse me.
Bless you. His snap percentage was 29%, 43%, and then 34%. I don't understand why they would go down in snap shares after he exploded that 1 week. Clearly, it's game script. Yeah, it's that. But now my question to you, because is Christian Kirk is there in the field, and it seems DeAndre Hopkins is number 1, right? Like no doubt.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
But then it seems like each week it looks like we're going to juggle between who the number 2 is between Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore.
The number 3, AJ Green's getting more snaps than both of them.
Yeah, what about the targets though? The air yards. That's what I want. The
You're talking
targets.
about targets and air yards. Okay. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not super confident in that. I think AJ Green just put up like 16 fantasy points. He had a good week. AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins stated in the offseason that AJ Green's the best. He looks the best of all wide receivers he's lined up with on
Okay.
the same team. That's and D Hop maybe just past his prime or is still in his prime. And I'd say the latter. He's still in his prime.
D Hop also said Rondo Moore didn't impress him at all whatsoever.
I mean, that's him just being tough, but the fact
Yeah,
that
I
he's
mean,
willing to say that about somebody when he doesn't normally say that, I think that says a lot. And the snap share says a lot too. We're talking about 3 weeks, and he just performed in week 3.
yeah, I mean because of a touchdown. But besides that, I think Christian
Do you know the
Kirk
stats
is
off the top of your head?
they're pretty even on targets. But yeah, AJ Green's getting far more snap percentage. He's gotten 6 every single week. Oh, he didn't get a touchdown. Excuse me, he did not. He just got 112 yards.
Yeah, I can't pull up game stats over here.
So yeah, I guess AJ Green is outpursuing Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is doing more with his targets, but
Yeah,
they're all pretty.
yeah.
They're all just pretty even. Look, these high volume passing offenses, I think their number 2, number 3 guys are like viable flexes. And if you're in a deep league or maybe you have a depleted roster, I think you can start Rondale Moore or Christian Kirk or AJ Green. You got to take your guess with what week to play them. Maybe not Rondale Moore just yet because the snap percentages aren't there. But if you want to juggle between Christian Kirk and AJ Green, your flex because you're depleted. I think that's pretty good. That's okay.
Yeah, not terrible. Christian Kirk's one of those late bloomers. He's just a guy I've never been on. So I'd rather roll the dice with AJ Green. If we're talking redraft. But Dynasty, obviously, he's old. He's probably not the guy I want to own.
No, Christian. Yeah, I mean, and clearly Rondale Moore was drafted to be Kirk's replacement.
Yep, and
absolutely
we'll probably do that sooner than later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got to watch these snap percentages because it just went up and then went down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but once it passes a certain threshold, like it'll be on the radar.
We're talking about 3 weeks for a rookie, though. We got a full season. And it's typical that these players come on in the latter half. So,
right.
Rondale Moore, he came back down to earth, but he's a guy that I have him on several teams. After that, I was able to just grab him as a free agent and redraft. And he's just sitting on my bench. I'll wait for him to increase those snaps. And once he's done that, once he's at that probably 60% threshold, then I'm probably going to start rolling with him. I think we're ready, Mike. I'm ready for you.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I just closing thoughts on Rondale Moore. As far as owning rookies going, you want him to show flashes, and he's now showing you the flash of that elite potential. And he lines up all the analytical numbers too. So if you're a Rondale Moore owner, you should feel confident going into year 2.
Agreed.
All right, here we go. All right, next topic is going to be DeAndre Swift, RB3 on the season so far.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up his stats because this is a good one.
Yeah, so if you bought the DeAndre Swift dip in the offseason from the whole he might have killed somebody in Philadelphia thing, good for you. Hats off. Applaud yourself. Pat yourself on the back. He is mine and Jake's both RB5 in Dynasty. I might have to move him up, but
yeah, I need to fix all my rankings.
He's still limited in touches, and he's absolutely killing it. Yeah, I mean, you should go out there and get yourself DeAndre. If you own Zeke, trade for DeAndre Swift. If you own Saquon,
if somebody
I don't know about that. Yeah,
dude, I have DeAndre Swift, and the guy who owns Saquon's ready to move him. And I thought about offering it, and I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to do that.
No.
Because we're talking about a guy who's excelling, working in a committee. I don't know the targets off the top of my head. That's what I'm trying to look up because it's wacky. It's really.
I got you. Keep going.
So,
okay. So, all right. His targets for the first 3 weeks are 11, 5, and 7.
11, 5, and 7. You have a running back who's getting receiver-type targets. He's producing on those targets. He's catching, and he's also a solid yards after catch guy. He's good. DeAndre Swift also has got 11 attempts week 1, 8 attempts in week 2, and then 14 attempts in week 3, right? So this guy's running the ball as the lead back. He's also catching the ball as the lead back. So Jamal Williams is going to work in, but to me that just shows his his opportunity and how good he is. So if something happens, Jamal, or you don't want to try and predict injuries. I don't like that. But the point is, DeAndre Swift's effective with him there. He's going to be more effective if something happens, and he's going to produce and continue to produce regardless. So that's a guy. I'm extremely blessed right now. In one league, I have Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, and DeAndre Swift, the top 3 running backs. 3-0. Very excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, and for everyone listening, if you guys are worried about yards per carry, because they're not high, I'm not. The first week was against San Francisco. That's a great defense. Second week's Green Bay. Okay, he should have gotten more snaps there. He should have looked better there. And then his third week was Baltimore. He has a really nice soft schedule for the playoffs. You look at his playoff schedule. You got Denver to start off, so that's not great. But you got Arizona, Atlanta, and Seattle. So he's going to have a nice playoff run.
Arizona's defense has looked better this year, so that might be tough to say, but we'll see what happens. DeAndre Swift, though, if you can get him, he's the real deal. He's not a fluky guy. If you follow me on Twitter, I talk about him all the time because one of my favorite stats to look at is yards per opportunity, fantasy points per opportunity. And DeAndre Swift is an absolute stud. Every time he touches the ball, his points are exceptional. I think he ranked like 15th of qualifying running backs last year, and we've got guys with not a significant amount of touches. He was one of the highest with over 150 touches last year, which is really good. So he's a real deal. We've been on him in the offseason. If you can get him, get him. Don't trade the guy. Mike, would you trade Saquon?
Yeah, he's a lot top 10 for the rest of the year.
Would you trade Swift for Saquon right now in redraft?
Like, am I getting Swift? Yes. But if I'm trading away, no, I'm not trading him away. I'm not trading away for anybody that's not like. I don't even know if I do it for CMC. He's hurt right now, and I don't know.
I would.
You think? All right.
So if I'm confident I'm going to make the playoffs, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one. All right, let's move on to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones.
This one stresses me out. AJB is week to week. Not off to a great start this year. I think he had 14 points in week 1. Week 2 didn't look great. Week 3 he got hurt pretty early. So not ideal, but again, we're talking about a guy who has been a proven stud. Week 2, he was 2 catches away from another 50 yards, maybe a touchdown, and there's no telling what he could have turned those into. He's a yak guy, So, I mean, we're talking about real drops that ball hit him right in the hands. You can't predict drops. It's unfortunate, but you shouldn't expect it to happen in the future. So, say he catches those two balls. If that's PPR, we're talking 2 plus 5. It's a 7, at least another 7 points in week 2. At least, maybe more. Depends on how long or how far he turns those runs into. I'm not panicking there. He's actually a guy that I'm trying to acquire if anybody's willing to sell. A lot of people forget last year he played through 2 knee injuries. He had them both repaired this offseason through a procedure, not surgery. But he still produced. So Tannehill looked bad in week 1. AJB had 2 drops in week 2. He was hurt in week 3. Not a great script. That offense is looking a lot better. Week 2 and week 3, they bounced back. It's no reason to panic. If you can get AJB, do it. Julio's look good too. I don't know what I'm willing to pay for Julio because I think his potential is capped in that offense. Because I think AJB is going to get a bunch of balls too. So I don't know. On Julio, that one's always tough for me. If someone's willing to sell low, I might buy, but I don't think he's a top 10 receiver this year by any means. Probably not even top 20, maybe top 25.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I don't have much to add here. For redraft, I am concerned Julio's there. It's a new offense coordinator. So I would be concerned for redraft. I'd probably be willing to move him for
Julio. Julio, you're concerned with?
No, AJB. I'm concerned with. I'd probably be willing to move him in redraft because it's new offense coordinator. The injuries are there. If I can get like a Cooper Kupp, I'd do it. If I could get.
I don't think you're getting Cooper Kupp.
I wouldn't do it for Mike Williams that we talked about earlier, but I'd be willing to move AJB.
So I guess okay. So if you had to rank AJB for rest of season redraft, where would you rank him?
He's not inside the top 12.
Okay, so where do you have him?
I haven't done my rest of the season rankings, but he'd probably be a back end or a wide receiver too.
Okay, so you're
Like
thinking
back end.
around 23, 24.
20, 20.
Okay. I won't argue. I've already said everything I have to say. I think that's
Okay.
bold to a
Okay.
degree because he's still getting targets. He's still getting opportunities. Todd Downing hasn't changed much other than the fact that Henry's getting a few more targets.
Okay.
But that's my personal opinion. I'm still trying to get AJB.
Gotcha. Julio's looking better than I expected. I like Julio not as a top 25 option. I like him more like a top 36. But yeah. All right. You ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. Let's hear about Trey Sermon.
I've already said so much, but again, this just goes back to Shanahan. Not happy with his coaching decisions. You've got your top 3 draft capital you haven't been using. You finally got Sermon in the game, and granted, he didn't look great the first half. I can confidently state that. I won't argue against that, right? I think he had 3 carries for -3 yards, which isn't good, but they had no holes. Like those were runs that were plugged. I don't think anybody's going to get much more than maybe 5 yards total. So we're talking about a difference in 8 yards, which isn't good. You don't want -3 yards, period. I'm not trying to defend that, but again, there was no opportunity to run. These guys are hitting him in the backfield. He had a drop pass that was bad. You can't drop passes. You're a guy looking for more opportunities. You're trying to prove yourself. You can't drop a pass, right? So those 2 things did not look good in the first half. He had a drop pass and didn't have positive yards, I don't think.
But let me ask you this: Are you now out on Trey Sermon? Where are you at?
Well, hold on. Let me finish because I'll get there.
Okay.
So second half looked much better. Didn't look like a stud, but he looked like an adequate back. Okay, so this is his first game he's played. What do you mean? Don't. What do you mean? Didn't look. He looked okay in the second half. Why did he not look good?
I just think that's the line anyone can really be successful in. I just didn't think he looked good. He didn't look good the whole time. He break off big runs. I'm selling him. I'm out. Jeff Wilson's back in a few weeks. If I can get him back for the value that I paid for him, which is like a mid-second, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I probably would do that too, but I don't think that you're getting that right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some believers out there like yourself. I don't know. I already said
I've already said I'm not giving a second for him. I'm definitely not giving you Tony Pollard. I don't know what the hell that was about.
All right. See, so Trey Sermon to me, his value is depleted. He has very limited opportunities here. He's in the doghouse. Jeff Wilson, who actually is friends with Kyle Shanahan and productive, is coming back here in a few weeks. And I think it gets more complicated, and he's losing his opportunity to shine. And Elijah Mitchell comes back next week, too.
So here's the thing. Everyone wants to talk about how Trey Sermon wasn't good. Okay. Elijah Mitchell the week before looked terrible, too. They didn't open up any holes for him.
Yeah, but Elijah actually flashed his 2 weeks he had. I know he had limited numbers.
Week. He didn't flash in week 2. He did not look like anything special in week 2. But I will give you week 1. But the point is, if Trey Sermon had those same opportunities, would he have done the same thing? I don't know, because we haven't seen opportunities with holes.
Right. Well, I didn't like his draft profile either, so I was already out of him to begin with.
A lot of people are out because of that, and then now you have lack of or they're affirming their belief that he's already bad, and I get that, right? See, I'm coming from the opposite spectrum where I believe he's good, so I want to see real opportunities. I thought he was going to get that last week, and I think he had 9-10 carries, which is okay, but not great. So I really hope that Trey Sermon gets at least one more week. I think he did enough in the second half to earn more opportunities. He scored on the touchdown. And he also picked up a really good block. I don't know. A lot of people don't want to talk about that, but that definitely would have been a sack. And dude took out the other guy's leg. So he made some plays in the second half. First half looked bad. I don't know if he did enough. We'll find out. I hope he did, because I want to see a real opportunity. Once he gets once Shanahan actually gives him some carries, like a significant amount, and they have some holes, then that's when we can make our decision. I can't make a decision based on he had 5 carries where he's hitting the backfield before he gets to the line of scrimmage. Like, that's So hard to assess somebody that way.
It was a matchup against Green Bay. It's not really known for their defense, especially
That
not
doesn't
their
change the fact that
run
he's getting
defense.
hit in the backfield. Like, that's not Trey's fault, right? Would you say Trey getting hit in the backfield is his fault?
No, but like I expect my running backs to create on their own. I hope he can fight back to the line of scrimmage. I hope that he can get some sort of
And I
production
would
out there.
agree with that. But we're also talking about a sample size of 10.
Right.
We're not. Elijah Mitchell's got what he got 16 carries the first game. I don't know. I think he got 15 the second game, so that's 30. It's a little bit better. I just want to see the opportunities, and then if he doesn't do anything, I will change my stance.
Well, I think the window is short for running backs. I think they have to flash early, and like wide receivers take time to develop. It's like 2 years now. For running backs, it's like they're supposed to come out the gate hot. That's kind of like the expectation.
Let me ask you this: you remember Jonathan Taylor last year?
Yeah, slow start. Everyone's panicking on him. I got you.
Yourself included. Myself included.
Yeah.
So I think it was week 8 or 9. I had been trying to give you a first-round pick for him all year.
A late first.
Yeah, all year. And
I can't replace a running back with a late first.
What do you mean a late first? That was a first overall pick. What are you talking about? That was not a late first.
No, you're offering me Roshan's first-round pick, which was literally pick 110 because he won the league.
I don't know that I had Roshan's.
It was definitely pick 110 though. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Roshan's. Me and you both robbed him on a regular basis.
My earliest pick was the second round. I had an early first round pick.
Oh well, you're an active trader. You're an active trader.
Agreed.
It was definitely a late first, and the thing is, I'm not going to trade a once premium running back for a potential to get maybe a receiver because the running backs go in the first 5 picks.
Well, we also got Justin Jefferson at pick 10 last year, so let's not make that assessment that everybody at pick 8, 9, 10 is bad. But the point is this: by week 9, we had changed scripts. You were willing to accept that first round pick, and I said, "Nah, I've seen 9 games. That's plenty for me." And what did we do? Both of us were too quick to make an assessment, right? That's 9 weeks. So if we're giving Jonathan Taylor 9 weeks, granted, Jonathan Taylor is a much more talented running back, and I have no problem saying that. That's facts. We're not done here. We're not done here.
We're like 43 minutes in, and we got a lot to go over. We're like halfway through our topics.
So the point is this: I want to see opportunities, and until then, I'm not shifting. Once I see those opportunities, if he has 15, 20 touches this next week and it's bad, then okay, all right, I'll move on. But I want to see some holes. I want to see real opportunities, not getting hit 3 yards in the backfield.
He will not get 15 opportunities this entire year, unless there's injuries.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm banking on right now for sure.
Okay.
I'm banking on injuries next week because if everyone's healthy, I don't think it's happening. So.
Well, Elijah's back next week, so I'm not banking on 15 then. We'll see after that.
Well, Elijah's questionable, right? I didn't see anything.
I'm pretty sure he's expected back. I don't know the official news yet.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to Javonte Williams here.
It's your turn. I just went in.
He's still splitting carries with Melvin Gordon. If you want to start him, I've actually started him in a few leagues, and it worked out for me. But as far as like the running back I thought he was, because he was my RB1 for this draft class for dynasty purposes. Just to explain that for you, I think Najee Harris from the get-go was going to be the most productive running back year 1 and 2. I just think Javonte would have the better career as a whole. So, but anyway, I don't know if I would call him disappointing right now.
No, definitely not.
No, but he's not start-worthy right now either, right? Like, you don't feel good starting him. I mean, 14 for 45, 13 for 64 is not bad, and then 12 for 29 against the Jets. Like, he's not playing top defense yet.
Yeah. Well, okay, so my opinion on Javonte. I like Javonte. He was my number 2 running back for Dynasty and redraft. Maybe, actually, I might have had him in, ironically, I think I had Trey Sermon higher for a redraft because I thought he was going to get the start out the gate. That was clearly wrong. But, yeah, so Javonte's the better talent, no doubt. And he was my number 2 running back. I have him in a few leagues. I actually started him in 2 that I needed somebody to play.
Yeah, same.
Here's the thing, guys. Everyone, if you expected a rookie to come in and unhinge Melvin Gordon, an all-pro running back who's had a great career. We're talking great. Like Austin Eckler played in his wake. Like Melvin Gordon's been a stud. So if you expect Javonte Williams to come in and just take his job, you have ridiculously high expectations of Javonte Williams. And Javonte Williams is good, like borderline elite in my opinion, but there's no way that you should expect him to have a full workload. I do want to look up the snap share though, so if you got any other things you want to say,
I got you a stats right here. It went from 50 to 41 to 40 for Javonte.
So he's lost snaps per week. Not a lot, but still.
Percentage wise. It could just be game strip related though, because I went from the Giants to Jacksonville to the Jets. Like, I don't know. Or maybe they're just protecting an asset by putting Melvin Gordon out there.
That's possible. That's possible.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about it, but he has the workload he's getting early on while splitting carries makes me feel really good about owning him in the second half of the season.
Yep, agreed. He's a guy I'm not trading. Actually, I just traded. This was a lot, man. I just gave Keenan Allen for him.
Wow.
Which I hated. But it's Dynasty, and I had Cortland Sutton, A.J. Brown, and I think Amari Cooper. So he was my number.
Yeah, someone tried to make me overpay for Elijah Mitchell. They were asking me for a Terrence Marshall for Elijah Mitchell in a second. And I was like, no. And they're like, yeah, I thought your receiver core was pretty big. You give me a discount. And I'm like, not for a couple week rental, maybe. I wouldn't do that.
I think there's going to be a point where Javonte is going to be a guy who legitimately is a top 5 back, and you're not going to be able to get him. And so the fact that I don't think I'm competing for a championship this year, I said, let me go ahead and trade away Keenan, who's old, for a young Javonte. I think I've got 6 first-round draft picks in this league in the next 2 years. So pretty excited about that. And it just kind of made sense for my team, I felt like. Plus, Terrace Marshall, Rashad Bateman sitting on that bench. So being patient.
All right, let's move on here. Let's move on to Brandon Cooks. Let me start off with my apology of being the majority that faded. I feel like I'm the majority that faded in this year because I thought he was, he had a history of great quarterbacks and Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Jared Goff. He's always been on good teams with great coaches. And then now the coaches are gone. The quarterbacks are gone. He's the number one for once. Well, he's the number one in the New England, but besides that, he's always been the number 2. And absolutely proving me wrong. He is, as you put it, quarterback proof. And I'm with you, Jake.
So here's the thing, Mike. And, off the top of my head, this is just something that kind of came to mind. So we talked about how quarterbacks affect receivers, but it's not just that either. So Mike Williams is a great example of how scheme and coaching affects these players. So if you have a guy who's able to produce in different schemes, different coaching, and different quarterbacks, I think that's just – and maybe that's something we note for the future. Like, you had a good point with quarterbacks. I get that. But when we have a guy who's produced with 5 teams, that says a lot. Like, it's not – because it's not just quarterbacks. They're playing with different personnel, different schemes, different coaching. So let's note that for the future because I think that's significant.
I will. I made a foolish trade 2 years ago when a Dynasty got picked up as an orphan. My very first super flex. I traded Deontay Johnson for Brandon Cooks, like straight up, and going into his sophomore year. And I'm now back-to-back champions in that league, which is just hilarious. That's fantasy.
I don't hate that trade. I like Brandon Cooks. I don't know that I don't want Brandon in any league. It sucks that he's getting older, though.
Yeah. I mean, he's only 27, 26, 28?
I think.
28? Okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Adam Thielen touchdown regression. Now, I feel you feel pretty strongly about this one, so you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. A lot of people are like, touchdowns are not necessarily repeatable, predictable stat, right? But I don't necessarily agree with that. I think maybe historically, when you have, again, different coaching, different schemes, a player might be utilized different ways. But when a guy is consistently putting up touchdowns, that to me, you shouldn't be punished and expect that player to regress because to me, that's an indication that this player exceeds in the red zone, right? You have a guy that has shown he can produce in the red zone. He's a capable target. Why would you stop throwing to that target the next year? It doesn't make sense. You can throw the ball to him in the end zone. He's going to catch it and come down with it. So it's like these jump ball guys. Thielen's one of them. Like, he's a guy who can just go up and get the ball. And I don't like to especially when it's consistently happening. Like Thielen's been doing this for years. It's not a one-off thing. Claypool, I think he's going to have touchdown regression. I said the same theory whenever we talked about him, but he also has Matt Canada there now, so different coaching. But yeah, Thielen's a stud. I wish he wasn't getting older because he is going to would have been good, has been good for a long time, but he's run out of years.
Right. I got nothing really to add to that. If Thielen does go down, obviously Justin Jefferson's there, but we talked about KJ Osborne before, and I think KJ Osborne can step up. So just a name to throw out there.
Do we have a banner on him? Do we talk about him later?
We didn't add
something worth mentioning.
About now?
Yeah, something worth mentioning. So you and I had actually discussed that trade, the Will Fuller, KJ Osborne. Didn't happen, but something noteworthy, right? KJ Osborne fell off this week. Why? Well, Tyler Conklin popped off, right? So now you have – it looks like they switched their personnel up this week. I'm actually going to pull it up real quick. Bear with me here. I think this is worth discussing.
That's cool. Yeah, so with these Vikings receivers, I talked about this last week, and now I feel more strongly about it, is that the Vikings are going through a transformation phase where they're no longer a run-first offense. I think now they're playing behind a lot more. Their defense is no longer what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that they're letting Kirk actually throw the ball downfield now. And so that's where I'm at with it, and so I feel confident starting – I would feel good starting KJ Osborne as like a flex option in deep leagues.
Okay, so I was definitely wrong. I'm glad I looked it up, so I'm not giving you guys bad information. KJ Osborne had the same amount of snaps in week 2 as he did week 3. Snap share percentage. So looks like Tyler Conklin's just going to be involved. KJ's going to be involved. It's just a matter of predicting which weeks. It sounds like there's a lot of mouths to feed there now, as if there wasn't before, but before, I think it was Irv Smith and just the two big receivers. Now we've got KJ Osborne thrown in the mix, having a great sophomore year.
Absolutely. And just so everyone knows, Kirk Cousins' attempts this year so far are 49, 32, 38. He is absolutely on a tear. I think he's locked in, like a top QB8 for me this year. He's just going to be throwing a lot this year. And I've always thought he was underrated, so I'm actually pretty excited that he's out there throwing the ball.
All right, Mike, I'm gonna give you props here because this isn't me taking a W on this one. I remember when we were discussing rankings, you were like, Jake, why the hell do you have Kirk Cousins so low? And I think you actually did convince me that I had him a little bit too low, maybe not as high as what you thought, but sounds like you were on to something there, and I was wrong on that one. So good call on Kirk.
Hey, I appreciate it. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. We got DJ Moore and Sam Darnold. Let's hear it.
This one pissed me off. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
So I'm glad Sam Darnold's having a better year. DJ Moore's a stud, right? But I watched that game, and I particularly watched Terrace Marshall because that's a guy that I have been watching for a long time. Guy that I wanted to succeed in the NFL. And he's running a ton of snaps. Like, he's going to get involved. I'm going to go pull that up because that's also worth discussing. And that is the Carolina Panthers. But here's the thing. I mentioned the snaps. So he ran 62% of routes this year. Just 2% under – not this year, sorry. 62% last week. And that's just 2% under Robbie Anderson and 12% less than DJ Moore. So they're running a lot of two wide receiver sets, and they're just alternating between the three. That's what I noticed during the game. Also noticed Terrace Marshall was open a ton, but DJ Moore and Darnold are just staring at each other. Darnold is just watching. So it didn't matter if Terrace Marshall was open, and I hope that changes. They have to, right? Like, you have to go back and watch film after the game, and the coach has to be like, yo, like, I'm glad DJ Moore's a stud, but Terrace Marshall was wide open. Why did you not throw the ball to him? I hope that's a good discussion that's had because Terrace Marshall's time's coming soon. Like, he's playing all the snaps.
I agree. He's there. He looks open. The air yards aren't there, so he's not getting the targets. But maybe it's a next year thing. Robbie Anderson looks toast, but Robbie Anderson just got extended, so that's interesting. Robbie Anderson's like what, 2 targets for two catches?
Yeah, but he played the snaps. It's just I think it's just again. I'm not trying to knock. I don't think he's toast. I think it's a matter of Darnold wasn't looking at anybody. Like DJ Moore had 15 targets. It was something stupid.
Yeah, well, Robbie Anderson's snap share has gone down 3 weeks in a row. Not saying that's going to continue that trend, but
Yeah.
it has gone down 3 weeks in a row.
Oh, you're right.
Sam Darnold is a player that I own like no Sam Darnold. I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm not like out there for the Jets. But he's always a player I wish like found his ground, found his feet, and I'm excited that Sam Darnold is out there succeeding.
Agreed.
I think he's like QB6 on the year or something ridiculous like that. Now I will say this though, Jake. This last game, when Christian McCaffrey went out, that offense looked a little slower.
Yeah.
So and Dan Arnold got traded, so there's gonna be a little more free targets for your boy Terrence Marshall or Robbie Anderson.
Or
But
Tommy Tremble. I don't know if we have him on here, but he's probably worth mentioning.
oh, we should talk about him. You want to just roll into us and talk about the Panthers right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I know they ran. Was it a reverse to him or a sweep? He got involved in the run game, and I know he had a touchdown this week. He looked. I think he impressed enough to where they said, "Okay, we can move." Who did they just? Dan Arnold, right?
Yeah, they moved him.
Where did Dan go? I'm drawing a blank here.
He went to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's right. Yep. I thought that was a silly
What was up
trade.
with that? What was up with that trade?
Henderson and they gave a third and him for Henderson. It was a first-round pick.
And C.J. Henderson was a first-round pick a year ago from Florida. He played like 6 snaps, was injury-riddled, and he was. I remember reading like earlier in the season they were trying to shop him out for trades, so he must have been in the doghouse somehow.
A doghouse.
But I thought,
thing, man.
Yeah, it is. But I did think that they got like what was it? They traded away a 5th and C.J. Henderson for Tommy Tremble and a 3rd. And I thought actually that was pretty good value. They got their round pick back out of that.
Yeah.
And a tight end, which they need because they've been targeted tight. Like James O'Shaughnessy got I think 8 targets one week, and it's just like why? He's not talented. So Tommy Tremble for Dynasty, definitely add him. Jake, I know he's on my waiver wire, so how much value you putting on? Well, give me a percentage.
I was just thinking that.
So I can beat that.
So here's the thing: my boy Dalton Schultz is popping off. So I don't know. I don't know that I mean, it fits my team strategy. So I'm probably gonna bid the whole thing, dude. So you're gonna probably have to bid 100% if you want to beat me.
I might bid some. I'm actually in trade talks right now to get rid of
100%. Might as well go 100%.
There's a team in our league looking to get Tyler Higbee. I might just shop out Tyler Higbee and add up Tommy Temple.
There you go. Sounds like you got a strategy. Right. But yeah, he's a guy that I want in Dynasty as well. Redraft, I don't know that I'm ready to throw too much at him just yet.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. Out of all the top running backs out there, I'm going to say that I think Jonathan Taylor is the current bust so far of the class. This is just 3 weeks in, so I'm not panicking a little.
The biggest
a lot.
Bust?
Yeah, I like the top, your top 8 running back drafted.
Well, I don't like calling anybody a bust at that pedigree. I don't think Jonathan Taylor's been a bust because he's been productive when he's touching the ball. From fantasy perspective, you definitely want more out of a guy you've spent this much on, right?
Absolutely.
He's not cheap. If you draft him, you spend a lot, and you can't trade him. You're not going to get – it's actually interesting. Somebody put Jonathan Taylor on the block in one of my redrafts. Would you trade DeAndre Swift for Jonathan Taylor right now in redraft?
Oh, that's tough. I'm going to say no. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me because Nyheim Hines vultured a touchdown. Nyheim Hines looked good. Man, it's so crazy that we it's a conversation that a ton of people are having in the offseason. What's Nyheim Hines and J.D. McKissick going to do to Antonio and Jonathan Taylor? A lot of people are well, Jonathan Taylor's so talented. Antonio Gibson is so talented. Antonio Gibson is so talented, that they're going to just get all the opportunities. And it hasn't been like that. Nyheim Hines, J.D. McKissick clearly carved a role last year, and they've retained those roles. They did well, and it seems to work. So it sucks, but I don't think Jonathan Taylor's going to have the year that he had last year. And again, I'm big on the 4-week sample size. Go ahead.
I just don't get it. I don't get it because the coach offseason was like, yeah, he earned more snaps. And he's 55%, 45%, 48% this year.
Yeah.
And it's just I do think Nyheim's skilled. I just don't understand why you can't put Naeem Hines in the slot. Maybe maybe run some more two running back type sets. But like even this last game, he was effective for 10 for 64. And like Jake, no offense, but some offense. The Titans defense is not good, and they wouldn't let him run on the Titans defense.
Titans have a top run defense every year. Same with last year. We had the worst. That's just facts. We had the worst third down defense in the league last year, and everyone's going to pass all over us. We're going to get passed on all year. We looked a lot better this year, actually, but our run defense is not bad, dude. Like, that's where we usually excel. In the last 2 years when we've been really bad, we've at least stopped the run. I don't know if that's selling out to stop the run and then giving up the pass game. I think it's just because our cornerbacks sucked last year. They're doing a lot better this year.
Right.
But
all right, so speaking of the pass game, though, for Jonathan Taylor, like he saw 7 targets week 1, felt good about that. Then he saw 1 target. It's the Rams. Like, okay, whatever. And then he saw 3 against Tennessee. I don't understand his usage. I don't know why he's not more involved. I am concerned as a Jonathan Taylor owner in a couple leagues. And I'm wondering, Jake, do I sell Jonathan Taylor? Like, do I get Javonte Williams plus a first?
Dude, I don't know. And that's kind of where, like, my whole mindset is with this is the Shanahan approach. Like, I don't understand the coaching approach, and that's what pisses me off because we see the talent. We know these guys are great, right? Like, Jonathan Taylor can do everything Nyheim Hines can do. I think. Would you believe that as well?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and same with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. Like, Antonio Gibson was a college receiver. So you think he can't catch the ball as well as J.D. McKissick? I don't believe that, And so I guess I'm not panicking, but I'm definitely concerned because I did not expect Nyheim Hines to be this involved, and I don't know if I would trade. I honestly don't know if I would trade DeAndre Swift for Jonathan Taylor straight up and redraft. Like, I don't know that I would do that, but I think Jonathan Taylor is the better running back, no doubt.
Right. All right, let's just move on. Let's do some. Do you mind if we do some lighting, some like 30-second, whatever? Just one opinion each side, and just move on. All right, got you. All right, so we got Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin here. I'll start off. Me and Jake argue back and forth because he has Schultz, I have Jarwin. I now think it's in favor of Schultz. Jarwin's still the tight end getting paid. He was hurt, tore an ACL, didn't get back to practice till super late preseason. I still think this is a split. But I think if you're desperate for a tight end, like, it's depleted, you don't have a top tight end, you want to stream Schultz. I think Schultz is the one to stream. It's Schultz over Jarwin for me the rest of the season. But if one goes down, the other one for me becomes a tight end 1. What about you, Jake?
I won't disagree there. Again, this was a situation that I looked at very similar to Tony Pollard and Zeke, right? Which is ironically the same team. You have a younger player coming in who's looking better than the guy who was supposed to be the better player. And they've proven the Cowboys that they don't mind to play that younger, less expensive player. That's Pollard and Schultz. Like, Blake Jarwin's the paid guy, Zeke's the paid guy, and they're both involved. But with Dalton Schultz, I think he's the guy to own. I really do. I think he's 7th ranked tight end right now. And
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's got to be up there.
He was top 5 last year whenever it was when Jarwin went down and while Dak played together. So Dak likes to target Schultz. So again, just to close things out quickly, Schultz over Jarwin for me in Dynasty and redraft.
Okay, Schultz is 5 right now. He was 11 last year. Yeah. But let's move on. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. All right. I think Jamar Chase is now the number 1 and the 1A. T. Higgins is the 1B. They're going to get into each other once T. Higgins comes back. Chase, though, I was wrong. I talked about how he might have a slow start this year. Jamar Chase is absolutely having a great year. He is a lock. I mean, he's not dropping below wide receiver 3 for me, that's for sure. So I think he's a lock. I don't know. Back end wide receiver 2, some boom potential. I wish Joe Burrow looked a little better, but Jamar Chase is an every week starter for me.
Yeah, I thought Joe Burrow actually did finally look better this week. Jamar Chase, I'm just glad they painted those stripes on the ball so he could come down with it because he's looking great now. T. Higgins,
yeah.
T. Higgins is a guy that I've loved. I actually have him in a couple leagues. I'm really excited about him. I don't know if it's a 1A and 1B. I don't know that one's going to outperform the other. I think it's going to be a week-to-week thing where one's just going to outperform the other. And I think they're both going to finish as top 24 receivers.
Okay, that's cool. Just so you know, Joe Burrow last year averaged 40 attempts per game. So far this year, he's at 27, 30, and 18. I thought that was interesting.
Not great.
Just mentioning
Yeah,
it.
that's not great.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. James Robinson season. Is it back on? Let me say first, it is. No, I can't say that with confidence. Urban Meyer looks like he used his running backs for once. James Robinson looked like his usual self. A fumble, okay, looked bad, but he looked very efficient. He is now back to a weekly starter for me until he proves me wrong, and I hope not. But I'm back on James Robinson. He's a RB2 for me now. It looks like Urban Meyer figured out that he needs to use the run game in the NFL.
I think you're probably onto something. I think Urban Meyer. It's funny. I don't know if y'all saw that comment. Urban Meyer said it's Alabama every week in the NFL because you're not.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like this isn't something you can just half-ass. You have to come out and game plan because, like, you look at college spreads. Like Alabama can be a 60-point favorite. The most you're going to see in the NFL is like 14, 17 points. 17 like really is pushing it because these dudes can ball. So you got a game plan and you can't come out and half-ass it. Looks like he finally figured that out. I do hope James Robinson has a good year. I know you think I just hate the dude. I just don't necessarily believe in his talent. I think ETN would have had this backfill, but yeah, hopefully the utilization is there because they looked like a better team when he was doing that.
All right, let's go on to the next topic. We got Brandon Ayuk here. Doghouse to start the season. Looks like he got the snap share back, that's for sure. Dropped a touchdown pass, made it up later in the game. Is Brandon Ayuk back? And my answer is I think they rotate, actually. Kittle and Debo and Ayuk are all healthy at the same time. This is probably the first. I don't think that happened last year almost at all.
I don't think
I think it's a you just got to pick your best shot on that one. You just got to pick them.
So I've got the numbers for you here. Okay. Debo played 90% this past week, and Brandon Ayuk was at 86. Kittle's on 100. He's a every down tight end, 95%, 100%, 100%. So that's his snap share across 3 weeks. Kittle's going to be out there. It's a matter of whether he's blocking for an atrocious offensive line or what they're doing. But Trent Sherfield played 3%. I think he's done. I think Ayuk's out of the doghouse. I guess I don't know what these players are doing at Kyle Shanahan, but I think they're having inappropriate relations with somebody in his family because he is disrespected. Ayuk had a hell of a year. He should be playing. Trey Lance gives the dude a chance. Let Aaron Banks get a chance. Like Trey Sermon, give him a decent opportunity. I don't know what this guy's doing, but Brandon Ayuk, I did. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Brandon Ayuk can be dropped." I wasn't one of those guys. I hung on to him. I had him in 2 leagues. Still have him. So I'm being patient with Ayuk. I think he's going to be fine, and the snap share would indicate the same.
I have on almost every redraft league too. I am concerned when Trey Lance comes in, only because it's a dual threat rookie quarterback, as I talked about throughout this early couple weeks here. But yeah, I'm stocked up for Brandon Ayuk so far.
So let me ask you a quick question. First off, how many more do we have after this? Topics.
One. What? We're gonna skip one and we're gonna do one. We'll talk about one next week.
Quick question then. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ways to frame the Trey Sermon argument. Trey Sermon's best year was at Ohio State, where he ran a spread offense with Justin Fields. Trey Lance, first overall draft pick, is going to run a spread offense in San Fran. Do you think that was part of the plan to utilize those two together? Do you think that's a possibility?
I don't know what the plan for Trey Sermon was because he was very unsuccessful in Ohio State until the last 3 weeks. But
I don't know if that's correct, but I don't know. I didn't believe that to be correct, but maybe that's correct. So I'd have
just look at his box scores and you'll see what it looks like for the whole season. But I don't know. I don't really think I don't know, man. That's a hard question. I don't think he would change what he's already doing because his offense was pretty good last year. They were pretty banged up, but when they connected.
But it kind of makes a lot of sense when you see Trey Lance not playing and your third round running back not playing.
Okay.
It's okay, well, if he drafted Trey Lance, which he already knew he was there when he drafted Trey Sermon, thinking now we have a spread offense running back. It's just a possibility. I don't want to sit here and keep making excuses. This is something I talked about in the preseason. So it's just something to note. I'm still trying to stay patient with him. Sorry, next topic.
All right, our last topic here is Emmanuel Sanders. I brought this one up. I want to add to the show sheet here because I think Emmanuel Sanders is a weekly flex option, especially in deeper leagues here. Just other analysts were saying this, and I'm just kind of piggybacking off of it. Through 2 weeks, I don't got the week 3 numbers, so I'm sorry, but through 2 weeks, he was 11th in air yards per target, and air yards overall, both. He was topping. So that means that excuse me, that Josh Allen is looking for Emmanuel Sanders downfield. He was throwing it downfield. They just weren't connecting, and it looks like they connected as of like week 3. But yeah, I am in on Emmanuel Sanders. I'm putting some fab in tonight about him. Jake, don't put any fab in for him in our league.
No guarantees, but here's the thing. He doesn't fit my scheme, so you're good there.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't give you too much information. I'm probably
right.
$10 just to screw you over because I don't need anybody this year anyways. But here's the thing. So I'm a Gabe Davis guy. He looked good in week 1. I want to pull up the snap share actually because that's worth looking at here as well. Who are we talking about? We're talking about
Emmanuel.
Buffalo.
And okay.
All right. Emmanuel Sanders ran 80% of routes or snaps. Was on 80% of snaps. Outperformed Stefan Diggs, who had 75. Gabe Davis was at 29. 66 for Cole Beasley. So it looks like it's going to be – yeah, it looks like you're right, man.
Yeah, he's locked in number 2 in a high-volume passing offense. Yeah. They don't have a running back core. Zach Moss looked good. I'll give him that. But typically they don't trust that running back core.
Yeah, it looks like you could be on to something. Emmanuel Sanders isn't a scrub anyways. He looks like he's running the most routes.
Yeah.
Let's put some fab in on him if you're in a redraft league and you need a deep stash.
Right. Okay. Only if you're not in the league with me. That's cool. All right. That wraps it up. So let's just talk about what we're going to do next week. Next week, me and Jake will talk about trade strategy, right? We're going to hit that week 4 mark, and we're going to talk to you about trade strategy. I think we got different styles here. Jake's a little better than me because he's a little more methodical about it. We're not very impatient.
So I don't know that we need to wait a whole week, especially it's probably better to discuss this while there's still players to buy low on. I think that's huge. I get a ton of trades done. So if we're good, let's just roll into it real quick.
Okay.
All right. So run out of time. So thanks for anybody who's hanging out and sticking around. But this is one of my favorite things to discuss in fantasy football. I think it's a massive way to excel. And I have a lot of teams where I could give you great sample sizes of trades and how well I do in those leagues. Typically, the more trades I make, the better I do. But here's the thing with trades. A lot of people think that you have to get this massive win, right? And I'm not a guy that believes that. I'll take small wins over time because if you do enough trades, small wins turn into big wins, right? You just made subtle upgrades until you get to the point where you just had, if you look at where you started, you had this small asset that you turned into a large asset because you were able to buy low or sell high, right? So buying low, that's something we talk about. Buying low is an opportunity to get a player cheaper than what they should be sold at. And my favorite players to buy low on are players that have a sample size that's significant, right? So Allen Robinson would be a good example, except he's in an awful situation. So another one would be Robert Woods. Robert Woods hasn't performed, but he's on the field. He has an excellent history, so that's a great buy low. We have a guy who's playing snaps and is, for some reason, through 3 weeks, has not done what he's done in the past. So you have a track record of successful fantasy play, and for some reason it just hasn't happened, right? So I've bought AJB already that way. I bought him. I think he's the only player I've bought low on so far this season. I've tried with Terry Marshall. Actually, I did buy Elijah Moore. I don't know if I would call that low, but definitely if he had been popping off, the guy wouldn't have accepted the trade. So my favorite strategy is buy low, sell high. So I've sold high on David Montgomery immediately after week 1. And I like David Montgomery, but that meant I was getting A.J. Brown and it fit my scheme. Also, guys that are like I'm selling high on, or just any like Rondale Moore. I would have sold high immediately in week 2 in redraft because I looked at a snap count. And it was kind of an anomaly for a guy to be that successful on that few snaps. So you have to know these things. That doesn't mean that you should punish him. Like, he does well when he gets opportunities, which is good, so he's probably going to earn more opportunities. But why did he not get those opportunities initially? So I actually had a guy offer me Robert Woods for Rondale Moore straight up. I didn't make it in time to press accept. The dude withdrew it.
Nice.
So upset. But it was offered. And I was like, yes, let's go. Like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And which is weird because he was buying high and selling low. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to lose your league, buy high and sell low. That is absolutely the number one way, in my opinion, to lose a league. So I've gone on for a minute, but I'm going to keep going because there's something else that I think is extremely noteworthy. So my favorite way to approach a trade is I say this. First off, I go look at their offense or their lineup and I say, what does this player need? Okay, and say they need a receiver, and I have a receiver that I think is I have a receiver that's available to trade, or that I don't value super high, that I'm thinking this could be a good guy for me to trade. He's a good player, but he's my number 4 receiver, for example. So I say, hey, so and so, you need a receiver. I don't say you need a receiver. I say, hey, so and so, I have this guy. Are you interested in working out a trade? If he says no on that player, don't make an offer, right? You always want to gauge interest, because if you go in and say, all right, I'm going to give you Rondell Moore for Saquon Barkley, right? It's not a good trade, but say the guy is low on Saquon Barkley, but he hates Rondell Moore. He says he's now offended. So you've offended the guy thinking you're offering a fair trade. That's not a good example of a fair trade, but the point is this. Gauge interest so you don't offend the player, okay? You don't want to say, hey, here's my offer, and then they don't like that player, and they love the player that you're trying to get. Now they're thinking this guy's trying to screw me over. And it happens, but that's a great way to get yourself in some trouble. Vice versa, if you get a garbage trade, Mike, what do we not do if you get a garbage trade? I want to hear what you got to say here, because this is another massive strategy. By the way,
I wouldn't get mad and like yell at the dude like in public, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that, but it's just funny he said that, because like my general trade, people value players differently, so I will lowball a trade to start. I absolutely will. But if they just outright like say no, I'm not discouraged about it. I'll up the price and just see what they're like about. So I really will.
Here's the thing. So I guess the point I'm trying to make, or what I was trying to get at there is, wait, what did I ask you? I lost my train of thought.
What do we do when someone lowballs you?
Okay, so yes, number one, don't go blasting the league. Look what this idiot offered me. Okay, because now if he thought he was really offering you a fair trade, now he's not going to be offering you any more trades because you went and put him on blast and he thought it was a fair trade. So that's really stupid. You don't want to ruin trade negotiations. So in Mike's situation where he sends me a lowball offer, Mike and I are close, so I usually can be like, Mike, come on now. Like,
absolutely.
But if it's somebody that doesn't know that I know football the way I do, or know that Mike knows football the way he does, I usually say, hey, first off, I really appreciate the offer. And like, this is going to sound cheesy, but I'm dead serious. I will thank you for the offer, because I always want you to send me offers. I don't care if you think it's a low ball. All it takes is one player that you find a low ball that I like. So I'm going to thank you for your offer, and I'm going to say, I appreciate the offer, but it looks like you and I value these players much differently. And I'll state why. So, he offered me Will Fuller for KJ Osborne. I said I need to think on it. Thought it was a fair trade. I got back to him. I said, yeah, I'll do that. I think Mike got cold feet. I don't know what happened, but the point is this.
It wasn't a fair trade. What do you mean?
Oh, sure. Okay, well, I'll hang on to KJ Osborne.
I came back and I was like, hey, can you throw in a third? Because I think Will Fuller showed that he can be a 1. He can actually be a 1 on offense.
He could. So what happens when Thielen's gone next year?
KJ Osborne's not the 1. He's maybe a 2.
Maybe, but he's also in year 2 and he looks good.
Justin Jefferson is clearly way more. Don't try to sell me on him right now.
I'm not. I'm good with keeping him. I like KJ Osborne.
Justin Jefferson is the 1 out there, and if that Adam Thielen goes down, I think KJ Osborne can step in and be as successful too.
Sure.
That's where I'm at, and I'm at with Will Fuller. He's a free agent. Tua's not in right now, so I'm not really worried about his production right now.
I mean, I like Will Fuller, so I'm not trying to knock the trade. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just,
no. I got you. I'm just trying to speak my sense to you. Like we're trying to sell our players. We're trying to hype them up. You gotta be a showman. You gotta sell your player.
I don't believe that at all. I hate that shit. If someone's trying to sell me on a player, I'm like, first off, when you offered me the trade, I went and did all the research I believe is necessary. So whatever you're telling me, I don't care.
I got you. And
But not
Jake does his
maybe
research.
not everybody does that, so I don't know.
Yeah, not everybody in the league will do their research. So I'm trying to sell my players. And let me tell you what, all my players on any of my rosters are better than yours all the time.
That's funny. I do sometimes send an offer. I think the other day I said, hey, Kenneth Gainwell's on the block. And one guy said, who? And I'm like, the dude like thought that like I'm trying to sell some guy who's just absolute trash, and I'm like, hey dude, like if you don't know Kenneth Gainwell, like I can't help you out. Like you should definitely know who that is, because if Miles Sanders goes down, like that's a good value. So I was trying to sell him.
And now you're selling them, bro. You're being a showman, bro. You're giving them the best value possible.
No, I didn't respond. I just said okay.
All right.
If that's your mindset, I'm probably not gonna be able to convince you, because you think I'm gonna try and convince you. So
I want everybody in this chat to know that Jake is one of the better traders I've ever been with. I am absolutely impatient. I am impulsive, and Jake is great. I thought hard about selling Will Fuller for KJ Osborne. And these guys aren't significant players or not. They're probably not a make or break in fantasy, but they're pretty great. But you got to stick to your guns. Be confident about it. And if you see a trade offer and you think in your head, oh man, I don't know if this is good for me or not. Like if you're on the line about a trade, it's probably a good trade. It's probably a pretty fair trade if you can't decide what side you would rather.
You know what's really irritating? It's really irritating. The people who know I do this, they like refuse to trade with me now. They like, just because like I'm making an offer, they just assume that I'm automatically winning. And I'm like, look, there are such things as mutually beneficial trades. Like I would say that it's that go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off here. You taught me that, honestly. I remember sending you a trade one time. I'm new to Dynasty, and you were like, I think you're just upright, like, how does this make my roster better? And I looked at it, and I'm like, that's a personal problem. But I really thought the whole time, I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea how that makes your roster. But I'm like, oh, that's depth. And you're like, yeah, okay, I don't need depth. But that's a pretty good that's a good lesson too, is that you should look at your roster and look how you can better the other person's roster as well as yours too. I mean, you want to win your league, but you can say this fighter's an upgrade.
It's like the Javonte Keenan Allen trade. So that's one of my buddies so I offered, I think it was like Cortland Sutton. I didn't want to give Keenan. I like Cortland too, but I'd just rather have Keenan. And he's a Broncos fan. I said, hey, here you go. You need a receiver. I need a running back. This is fair. Like, it does what it needs to do. He says, well, why do you want Javonte? Like, well, shit. Like, why do I need to explain to you why I want somebody? Like, I like the guy. So now he's thinking there's something I know that he doesn't know. And I'm like, dude, like, so I actually jokingly said, I will give you, I think it was A.J. Brown for somebody. It was a joke. I just wanted to test him.
It was AJ for Javonte straight up. I remember this.
I said, I'll give you A.J. Brown for Javonte. He said, I think I'm good. I'm like, dude, I was like, first off, I'm kidding. Like, I'm trying to help you, but like, you clearly have already made up your mind, so I don't know what to tell you.
That's the price for being intelligent in your trades. People just know you know your stuff.
But again, I really am looking for mutually beneficial trades because it helps both of us out. So that was kind of the goal there. I wasn't trying to screw him over.
Got you. One more tip, so I want to add, and maybe we can end on this too, is that you need to know your league mates. In our home league, me and Jake keep track of who favors Fantasy Pros trade charts, who favors this other company's trade charts, who looks at Mike Clay's trade charts. So that's how we manipulate our trades, because we make it look like it's a value to whatever their scale is.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty big key to being a good trader. If you can get them to give their information, like, oh man, Fantasy Pro says this about it, and then you just take note, like, okay, this guy follows Fantasy Pro's trade charts
to a T. Yep. And it's funny. I will also add something that just came into my mind. I actually just implemented this strategy. It didn't work, but it's definitely worth trying, because you're going to win a lot of trades by biased fans. Find the fans.
Yes.
Find every NFL fan in your league. Like, I try and approach the Titans as unbiasedly as possible. I think I do generally a pretty damn good job of that. It took years of getting just torched, but now that we're actually good, it helps. But find those fans and take advantage of it. I know in Will League it was I had Chase Claypool and Dallas Goedert, and I knew the guy was a Steelers fan, so I offered those two for Mark Andrews and Cortland Sutton. He said, no. And I said, and again, here's another strategy. Hey, you declined the offer pretty quick. Were you just not interested in moving the players, or did you not like my offer? So now I can gauge if he just disliked the offer or if it was he's just got a player that's not tradable. Those things are just things you need to know, and it's very effective just engaging in quick conversation, because sometimes he's going to say, no, I'm not interested in the guy that you think is better, and I like so-and-so. And you're like, oh, shit, well, perfect, because I don't like so-and-so. You don't say that, but, it's just simple conversation sometimes, but always be respectful. Sometimes you're going to be like, sometimes you're going to have somebody's like, oh, man, that's just a terrible offer, and I'm just not, let's say something disrespectful. You say, okay, thanks, and just stop engaging them.
I'm a Patriots fan, and if someone offered me Jacoby Myers for a second, I'd probably do it. If he worth a second, I don't know. I think the Patriots should add somebody in the draft, and that'll lower Jacoby Myers' value down. But I'm biased, and someone offered me the top receiver for the Patriots, I'm in. Yep. It's just, you have to understand your league mate's bias.
Man, this is good, and we've got 0 viewers.
All right, are you ready to end it though? Because we've been on here for way too long.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was a ton of fun. I love talking trade strategy. By the way, I know a lot of people love to tag me, shoot me DMs on trade starts. Literally, like I'm telling you, I love talking trade. I studied negotiations in grad school, so I'm pretty good at it and always happy to help.
Yep, it's terrible.
Mike, you got some great tips there too. All right, but hey guys, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you guys next week.